speaker this afternoon is America's leading cultural translator. Yeah? He translates culture for brands and brands for culture. He was one of the strategists behind quite a few of the most iconic campaigns of our times. Apple iTunes, Nike, Budweiser, Made in America. He even ran digital strategy for Beyoncé. His passion is all about leveraging the power of culture to influence behavior. Over the course of his career, he's developed unrivaled expertise for creating culturally contagious ideas that inspire people to take action, to click, to buy, to watch, to vote. And he does that with quite a unique dual background. An award-winning ad creative strategist at Wieden & Kennedy, and one of the most renowned professors of marketing at University of Michigan. Please welcome Marcus Collins.
How's it going? Oh, we could do better than this. Hi, I'm Marcus. How's it going? Those are the vibes. Those are the vibes. Those are the vibes. Listen, I got to tell you, I'm really excited to be with you all. Like, really excited to be with you all. I don't have a lot of time, so let's jump right into this. And I want to talk to you about a very simple idea. And that idea is perspective. And I love the idea of perspective because it is democratized. We all have them. But more importantly, is that I believe that things aren't the way they are the way that we are. That is, the way that we see the world ultimately informs how the world manifests in our minds. So here's perspective for us. There is no external force more influential to human behavior than culture, full stop. And that's important for marketers because our job, at its core, is to influence behavioral adoption. Don't drink this, drink that. Don't go here, go there. Don't buy his shoes, buy my shoes. Don't vote for him, vote for her. Don't sign up for his newsletter, sign up for mine. Everything we do as marketers is in the service of behavioral adoption. And there is no force more influential to do that than culture. And you hear that and go, of course, of course. We always talk about culture. Marketers always say, let's get our ideas out into culture. Business leaders say our ideas need to be informed by culture. Even HR folks say, we have a foosball table in the kitchen. We have a great culture here. Culture, 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 culture. We all talk about culture. But if you ask 5 people to define culture, you get 55 different answers, and that's a problem. Because if we can't define this thing that is so influential, how do we ever fully harness its power? If we can't concretely describe a thing that has so much impact on our work, how do we ever fully operationalize it? So clearly, we need a better Rosetta Stone to talk about culture so that we might be able to operationalize its power. Which then begs the question, well, what the heck is culture? What is this thing that we talk about so saliently? And culture is a difficult thing to define. Raymond Williams, a cultural scholar, would often say that culture is one of the 3 hardest words to define in the English language. So when I think about culture, I think about it through a sociological lens, particularly this gentleman here, Emil Durkheim, one of the founding fathers of sociology, defined culture as a system of conventions and expectations that demarcate who we are in the world and govern what people like us do. Who we are, our identity. This is the multiple hyphenates we use to describe ourselves in all its complexity and all its intersectionality. It's the way by which we carve out our personhood in this world. Some of them are individual reference. I'm a professor at the University of Michigan. That's an individual referent. I'm in a fraternity called Phi Beta Sigma. That's a group referent. I'm a father to 2 little girls, Georgia and Ivy. That's an abstract referent. And all of these monikers make up who I am. And you hear that and go, yeah, totally, that makes all the sense in the world. But here's a hard truth. And I feel like we're all family, so let's just be real with each other. We as marketers suck at defining people. We're terrible. Me too. Because we don't describe people by who they are. We put them in nice, neat little boxes. Not because they're real, but because they're easy. Not because they're accurate, but because they're fluid. For instance, meet my friend Deborah. Deborah drives a minivan. Does Deborah have kids? Yeah. Do her kids play a sport? Yeah, what sport? Right. You guys are amazing marketers. And where does Deborah live? I gave you one data point about Deborah, you map out her entire life. This is what we do. Not because it's accurate, but because it's easy. Not because it's real, but because it's fluid. In fact, we have an instrument to help us do this called demographics. And boy, do we love our demographics. Age, race, gender, household income, geography. These are the means by which we describe people. And while they may be statistically visible, they aren't accurate. And here's why it's important. Because of who we are, we see the world a certain way. Because of our identity, we frame the world through a translated lens that is cooperated with who we are. That's why for some, a cow is leather, for others it's a deity, and for some it's dinner. But which one is it? It's all of those things, depending on who you are and how you see the world. For some, a rug is decor, for others it's a souvenir, and for some it's a place of worship. But which one is it? It's all of those things, depending on who you are and how you see the world. Things aren't the way they are the way that we are. And because of who we are, we see the world a certain way. And because we see the world a certain way, we navigate life a certain way. Through the artifacts that we don, the behaviors that are normative, the language that we use. For instance, I'm a Collins, my name is Marcus Collins, and we believe family and church come first. Therefore, Sunday mornings, I'm in the church sanctuary. And if I'm not, I get a passive-aggressive call from my mother in the afternoon. How was your morning, Marcus? As she gets down. Now listen, now there are no stone tablets that I signed in blood saying that I'm gonna go to church. But I do that because that's just what people like me do. And every identity marker to which we ascribe our identity, we abide by these expectations. I think of it this way. I am A, we believe this, therefore I. I am a Collins, we believe family and church come first, therefore Sunday mornings I'm in the church sanctuary. Every identity marker that you subscribe your personhood to, you abide by the exact same rubric. You know that saying in philosophy, I think, therefore I am? In this case, it's I am, therefore I do. I am A, therefore I. Demographics never get anywhere close to this. But because of who I am, I see the world a certain way. And because we see the world a certain way, we therefore navigate life a certain way. And then we express ourselves through shared work. What the literature refers to as cultural production. Literature, art, music, film, television, pottery, poetry, podcasts, and brands and branded products become ways by which we peacock ourselves to the world as a way of expressing who we are and where we fit in this phenomenal social world in which we live. For instance, I grew up watching Spike Lee movies, listening to hip hop, watching The Cosby Show before we knew he was a dirtbag. Don't judge me. Don't judge me. Don't judge me. Now, it's because of this cultural production, because of these works, that I see the world the way I do. Because of Spike Lee movies, I have a certain perspective on race relations. Because of hip hop, I have a certain aesthetic of what is cool. Because of the Huxtables, I have a certain idea of what it means to be a good parent beyond my own. It's not because of what these things are, it's because of who I am. And we consume accordingly. Because of who we are, we see the world a certain way. And because we see the world a certain way, we navigate life a certain way. And then we express ourselves through shared work. The alchemy of these systems, or systems of systems, make up our culture. The governing operating system of humanity, our culture. The system by which we navigate the world. Now, here's why this is important for marketers. Because a consumer's social needs are influenced by their culture. Culture influences the consumer's social needs, which in turn is satisfied by the use and ownership of innovative products. We consume products that are congruent with our identity project, with the way by which we showcase ourselves to the world as receipts of identity. And culture moves forward on the basis of one simple question. Do people like me do something like this? The answer is yes, we do it. The answer is no, we don't. We make that decision hundreds, if not thousands of times a day based on how we self-identify. based on our ethnicity, our nationality, our religion, our organizations, our social groups, and our consumption collectives. This is Superman powerful stuff here. And I would go as far as to say this is the biggest cheat code for marketers. Because consumption, at its core, is a cultural act. What you're wearing, what you drive, the phone you use, how you style your hair, if you have it, where you went to school, if you went to school, who you date, who you marry, where you vacation, what you eat, how you bury the dead, if you bury the dead. These things are all byproducts of our cultural subscription. You think you woke up in the morning, decided what you're gonna wear today? Oh, that's cute. There are social forces being applied upon you telling you to be normal. And that normality is our cultural subscription. And because of our want, our need, our social desire to be normal, we therefore act as a way to achieve social solidarity. Emil Durkheim refers to this as collective effervescence, and what a beautiful phrase. Because what he's getting at is the magic that happens from network effects. Now I'm gonna take you back to your statistics course for just a moment. I can't help myself, I'm a professor, so just bear with me for a moment. In the 1800s, a gentleman by the name of Karl Gauss, he was a German mathematician, postulated this distribution that we know as the Gaussian curve. And the Gaussian curve represents the most accurate description by which value, products, information, behaviors propagate in a population. And this thing has been replicated, challenged, and confirmed for well over 200 years. And it's so prevalent in how we see the world, we actually call it the normal curve. And why do we call it the normal curve? Because everything that is organic or not human-made abides by this distribution. And the more in the middle you are, the more normal you are. And there's social forces telling you to be normal. Dress this way, act this way, talk this way, do these things, buy these things. And those social forces, that's culture, pushing you, telling you to be like people like you. Now, we're all marketers here, so we go, oh yeah, I know fam, oh I know. Because the majority of people are right there in the middle, and that's who we're after, the majority, the normal consumer. So much so that we actually have an instrument to talk to these people called the sales funnel. And ooh, do we love some sales funnel. Let's blast as many people as possible. Maybe prayerfully, God willing, inshallah, we can reach 20% of them. And then maybe we can convert 0.012% of them. And when that happens, the media agency goes, yes. Now, while that may be efficient, it certainly isn't effective. It's busy, it's noisy, it's saturated, it's expensive to talk to the normal, to talk to everybody, at least 67% of everybody. And when I look at that normality, I can't help but ask myself, what's happening on the side over here? Because if the middle there is normal, then the side there is the fringe. Or if the middle there is popular culture, then the side there is subculture. And what do we know about normality? What do we know about popular culture? Everything that's popular now was once subcultural. Everything that is cool today was once weird. Everything that's normal today was once unheard of. And then it populated into the population to become normal. Rather, it was adopted into the population to become normal. 20 years ago, if you were into comic books, this was you, loser. This was you. No shade, this was you. Now, the movies we watch the most across the globe come from comic books. What was once weird, now normal. 20 years ago, if you were into collectibles, this was you, dork. This was you. Now, collectibles are cool. 20 years ago, if you were into gaming, this was you. Failure to launch, living in your mama's basement. This was you. Now, Gaming is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Gaming is cool. 20 years ago, or maybe 5 years ago, 5 years ago, 5 years ago, if you're into anime, this was you. But now anime is cool. What was once weird becomes normal. What was once fringe becomes the dominant behavior. This completely changes the conventions we have of marketing communications. It completely changes how we think about marketing communications, because typically marketing works like this. I have a brand and we have products. And I'm gonna communicate my branded products through some marketing communication, some advertising, right? And they're typically focused on value propositions. My razor sharper, my battery lasts longer, my shampoo will get you laid, I don't know. And the hope is that people see our ad and go, I wanna get laid, give me that shampoo. You know who you are. In fact, we call this advertising because what is advertising meant to do? The root word of advertising is avert, which means to people to turn toward, to get people's attention. And we use our marketing communications basically focused on value propositions to get people's attentions in hopes that they'll move. But what we know of humanity is that we don't move because we're told to. We're moved because we're inspired to. And when brands who have a point of view about the world preach their gospel to the world, they connect with people who see the world similarly. They go, yes, finally someone said it. And they use the brand as a way to communicate their own identity. The advertising is no longer advertising. The advertising is cultural production. Become a way by which I signal to the world who I am. And they not only consume it, but they tell other people just like them. And they tell people just like them, and so on and so on and so on. Christakis, a follower, puts it this way, that when a small group of people begin acting in concert, displaying similar visible symptoms, the epidemic can spread along social network ties via emotional contagion, and large groups become quickly emotionally synchronized. So what does this mean for us? We have to learn to see the world in ways that are not our worldview. We have to learn to see the world through the lenses of people who are not us. We have to learn to set aside our own ethnocentrisms, if only for a moment, to apprehend the world through the meaning-making system that is culture of people who don't look like us, who don't believe what we believe, or come where we come from, so that we might be able to connect with them on a meaningful level. W.E.B. Du Bois puts it this way: herein lies the tragedy of the age. Not that men are poor, because we all know something about poverty. Not that men are wicked, because who is good? Not that men are ignorant, because what is truth? Nay, that we know so little about ourselves. We don't know us. We have to get better at understanding humanity. Not the boxes that we put people in, but the way by which they self-identify and see the world and navigate the world accordingly. I hope this is helpful. At the very least, I hope this forces you to see the world differently, because the way that we see the world informs the way the world manifests. And if we want a different world, dare I say a better world, we have to be better by the way we look at the world, the way we see the world, the way we apprehend the world. Now, I've spent a lot of time studying this, and I wrote a book about it. What are you gonna do? I'm a marketer, what are you gonna do? But if you wanna know more, I welcome you to it. But until then, I hope you walk out of this place better than you were when you came here. Because if you don't, what was the point of all this? Thank you so very much.
Have a seat. Wow. That was fantastic.
Thank you.
I'm sure you might have a few questions for Marcus. So you use Slido, hashtag GMW2024, and we'll weave in some of those questions. Marcus, talk to us about Beyoncé.
Yeah. You never heard of her before? She sings a few songs. So I used to run digital strategy for Beyoncé at a time where she was transcending being an artist. Like, you know, there was a time, I tell my kids this, like, there's a time that people actually talk junk about Beyoncé. And they were like, no way, Dad. I go, way. And this was in the I Am Sasha Fierce days. So my job was about helping her navigate the social world, navigate this zeros and ones world. And a part of my remit was moving her offline fan club online. And I go, this is about to be easy. Are you kidding me? Like, this is Beyoncé after all. So we had so much hubris in our ability to do this that we actually gave her fan club a name. We called it the Beyontourage, which is a terrible name, terrible. So we launched this thing, and it's a party that no one shows up to. We're like, oh my goodness, well, what's happening here? And the team starts to explore the internet to see what's going on. Are people talking about this thing that we did? And in doing so, they found this little community off in the recesses of the internet called the Beehive. And they weren't just fans of Beyonce, but they saw the world the way Beyonce does. They believed in women's empowerment. The same thing Beyonce has been about since her Destiny's Child days. But they weren't just fans, they were believers. They had their own artifacts, their own behaviors, their own language. The team said, let's cut bait on this Beyontourage nonsense, and let's partner with the Beehive to become her official fan club. And that's what we now know today, is the Beehive. And I always look fondly at my time working with her beyond what she has done since. I mean, not like I had that much to do with it. She is who she is. But I think about that time fondly because one of my biggest learnings was a failure. And I realized that you don't build community, you facilitate community. You go find people who see the world the way you do. You use your resources to help them connect and bring them together. You don't build it, you facilitate it.
I'd like to connect our conversation with the chat we had with Solly earlier this morning, So we're looking at sustainability. We want people to embrace new ways of behaving, consumption behavior. And it turns out to be damn difficult, damn difficult.
Yeah.
How do you look at that?
Well, I think that when we're looking at how we influence behavior, really it's about finding the catalysts. Like, I think that we oftentimes think that we need some really massive thing that's going to be an inflection point and everyone's going to change. Well, what the literature tells us is that that's not how it works. Think of a forest fire, for instance, is a common analogy, that forest fires don't happen because some major spark occurred. Instead, the conditions were just perfect. There was debris on the ground, the air was dry, it was windy, the trees were close together. And when those conditions are perfect, the smallest spark can set the forest aflame. And I think the idea then for leaders who are trying to socially engineer change, the idea is to focus on improving the conditions, increase the likelihood such that when the proper spark happens, you already have the things kind of going in your favor. But that requires us understanding human behavior, which oftentimes runs counterintuitive.
Picking up a question here from Slido, what brand examples can you share that have infiltrated the fringe while simultaneously being part of popular culture?
Oh, wow. There are many of them, but I think the one I'm most fascinated about these days is Liquid Death. I mean, Liquid Death is just, it's phenomenal. Like, it's water. Water. And water is parity in the Western world, right? And some people say, no, Marcus, no, the electrolytes, the pH balance. I go, you're an idiot. No, I'm joking. Kind of. Right? I mean, we've seen empirically that people can't tell the difference between tap water and bottled water. They just can't tell the difference. So they can't tell the difference between bottled water and other bottled water. It is a parity at its core. But Liquid Death doesn't go to market saying, hey, we have the best pH balance and all the alkalines and whatever. Instead, Liquid Death goes to market with a point of view about the world. Right? They believe in death to plastics. They would murder your thirst while murdering plastics. And instead of using plastic bottles, they use tall boy cans, which obviously is a demonstrative representation of what they believe. And people who subscribe to that belief system and the ethos or the aesthetic that they have attributed to that ethos, people go, give me that. And they use the brand as a way to project their identity when they're at concerts through their partnership with Live Nation, right? The brand becomes an artifact that signifies one's cultural subscription. It's unbelievably powerful. They didn't go after everyone first, they went after skaters first. Because the founder understood that community really well. It could talk to them in a very nuanced and intimate way. And as a result, this brand just got started in 2019 is now valued at over $1 billion for a parody product.
Oh. We've got our first question on Gen AI.
Okay.
Where do you think Gen AI sits with culture and learning to understand humanity? Complementary or opposing forces?
I think it's complementary, just like any technology, right? Marshall McLuhan would often say that technology are merely extensions of human behavior. Like wheel extensions of the foot, glasses extensions of the eyes, clothes extensions of the skin. So we use these technologies to extend human behavior. Like glasses don't make a blind man see, so we're bound by some of our human constraints. The idea then is that we use these technologies to forward what we already do as humans. And I think that where we get hung up in our industry is that we spend a lot of time focusing on the tech, but not as much time focusing on the people. Though we'll say in our decks and on stages and in our people that people first, we focus on people. Let's talk about the data. Let's talk about the AI. And the truth of the matter is that we are in a world where we are data rich, but insight anemic. You know, it's like we have reams and 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 reams of data about people, exponential growth of data acquisition, but our ability to extract insights from said data has only grown marginally because we mistake information for intimacy. So I think while we think about these technologies we have at our disposal, the idea is how do we use these technologies to extend human behavior? And before we were talking about generative AI, we've been using chatbots, which is a different form of AI, to do that very thing, right? I think it's the newness that creates some fear, and some fear is, I think, is warranted, considering the disruptive nature that technology can actually be.
A question related to the role of global marketers. We've got quite a lot of global marketers here, people with a global role.
Yeah.
What's their role when it comes to drive culture within their organization, and can culture ever truly be global?
Absolutely, 1000%. Right, so you know the idea of culture is a system, and there are people who subscribe to that system who are not of a particular geography. Hip hop is a perfect example of this. This is a music that is the cultural production of a culture, and hip hop is being consumed, it's being practiced, it's being exercised across the globe through the nuances of what it means to be in that particular geographical cultural confines. But culture is adopted. That's why there are sneakerheads across the world. There are people who are into anime across the world. These things cross boundaries because those boundaries are manufactured lines of demarcation. But humanity is not bound by those things. We find the people who see the world the way we do. We go, yes, finally. And because we are social animals by nature, as Aristotle puts it, we cling together. And then we go socialize it. We create network effects to bring us even closer together. So these cultural things that we feel like only happen here begin to jump geographies because of the like-mindedness of people who subscribe to the same ideology.
Marcus, we live in a society that is increasingly polarized, divided, at times tense.
Yeah.
How as a brand do you deal with people who don't agree?
Well, I think it's by its very nature, people aren't going to agree for everything. And we know this because, you know, in our marketing courses, Marketing 101, we go, you can't target everyone. We know this. We know this as like a baseline fact. But every time we make a decision, we go, but what if we turn some people off? But by nature, you're not gonna get everybody, right? So then we go, well, let's play it safe. Let's play it safe. Let's go with the majority. So if we go back to that Gaussian curve, we play to the middle. But that middle is a myth. Right? That middle, the people who are in the middle, they are by nature practicing a risk aversion strategy. They're looking to see what everyone else does before they do anything. And those are people who they won't be the first to buy your product, they won't be the first to listen to your album, to download your music, to watch your movie, to go to your restaurant. They won't be the first to do anything because they are being pushed to be normal. Which means then that our best opportunities are for the people who are most likely to move. And who are they? The people on the fringe who are already doing the thing. And your job is to preach the gospel of how you see the world. And they go, yes! Finally, someone said it. Hey, we were just talking about this the other day, look at this thing. And then we go spread it, not because of who they are, but because of who we are. So the notion for brands is to go, listen, we don't want to, we're not intentionally trying to offend anyone, but we do have a belief about the world. And we're going to use our resources to activate the network effect among the collective of the willing, the people most likely to move. And since our job as marketers is to get people to move, I can't think of any other people we should be spending our time trying to get.
That was well said. We could keep going for a long, long time, but there's one last question I'd like to ask you. One piece of advice for marketers who want to build better brands.
For marketers to build better brands, we have to understand one fact, that we don't create meaning, people do. Brands, by definition, are signifiers. They're vessels of meaning that conjure up thoughts and feelings in the hearts and minds of people relative to a company, product, person, institution, organization, and the like. But that meaning is not made by us, the marketers. They're made in the minds of the people. We signal meaning in hopes that there's congruence, but we don't make meaning, which means then when we're talking to people, we have to learn to translate the world through their meaning-making system, such that when we talk, they go, ah, yes, I see it that way, right? So we talk this all the time, that brands stand for something. What we really mean to say is that brands stand in for something. And the thing they stand in for is negotiated and constructed by the people. So we have to know people really, really, really well, such that when we communicate, they respond in kind.
Super. Ladies and gentlemen, Marcus Collins. That was excellent. That was exceptional. Thank you.